So Season 3 is right around the corner, just in a few days here, and while we're going to be getting new content, as always, like weapons, maps in Vanguard, and operators across both Warzone and Vanguard, today I want to take a look at a large handful of changes that are much more fundamental, that have longer lasting effects than just adding in a weapon or two that may not even make the meta cut in about a week or two's time. Today we're going to be talking about the big changes coming to Warzone Season 3, and what you can expect here from the basis of things like weapon balancing, map adjustments, and gameplay changes, all the way down to quality of life adjustments that will be present in every single game going forward. So that said, as we go along, drop your thoughts down below of these changes. What are you most excited for? And is there anything in particular with Season 3 that you're really looking forward to? Personally, I'm really curious how they're going to handle this Operation Monarch Godzilla vs. Kong event. Very curious to see how everything shakes up with that, but that'll be something we get a little bit more in time. Additionally, if you enjoy the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video, and as well, if you're new to the channel, do be sure to subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Warzone and Season 3 content. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers, and I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel, who have code Espresso bumped up to 30% off this weekend and next in anticipation of and celebration of the Season 3 launch for Warzone and COD. So if you're looking for a restock or just interested in trying something out for the very first time, now is as best a time as any. That said, let's jump into it. So firstly, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. I don't really want to focus on this too much, but we of course have those marketed items. That being your new weapons at launch of the M1916 and the Nikita AVT. Those will be available in the Battle Pass. A little later on down the line, we'll also see Operation Monarch introduced, but beforehand, we'll see some changes to the world and environment in terms of the play space right at launch. We'll see the skybox is different, the storms are coming to Caldera, and we'll have a few adjustments made to 3 main points of interest, plus a brand new one in air quotes here to this. That brand new point of interest being the small dig site previously next to mines. That's now much larger. It's now its own named location as dig site. It'll have actual bones, unearthed items, and loot that you can check out here at this. We'll see that peak is also adjusted, perhaps the most notable of changes that we've seen previewed so far, with the play space built out quite a bit more to what it is right now, with the structure seemingly being complete in construction, whereas beforehand there was still a giant hole in the building's roof where the Christmas trees were. So that's something that of course you'll see that much more ironed out and a lot more built up here at this. I'm excited to see what changes actually come inside the buildings themselves and also in the cave below. Runway will be adjusted here, in which we'll see more cover, more loot added in, perhaps making it a little bit more useful of a drop location after all. And then Lagoon will have a bit more traversal changes, some changes in that geo, with a couple of more ships added for additional cover, loot locations, and the like. Outside of that though, some of the things that may be a little bit harder to track here, we're going to talk a little bit about some balancing, because this was something that across a couple of interviews with streamers here in the community and also in other briefings, we've heard a little bit about what's upcoming. Firstly, the sniper weapon tuning is something that is up on deck here at this. The Swiss and the Car are absolutely by and far still the best snipers within Warzone. That's something that really doesn't offer too much variance, and especially with a whole new game here introducing a handful of other sniper rifles, I kind of imagine we get some buffs to Vanguard snipers, but also some decreases or nerfs within that Swiss and Car meta, bringing others more in line as well. Maybe even bringing some other things like the Tundra up to a viable option as well. Maybe the AX-50 perhaps. We'll see how that all works out. Those may be long shots and some wishful thinking, but who knows? The sniper weapon tuning, though, absolutely is a target that has been explicitly stated by Raven devs. Now, there's also additional tuning up on deck here. The Bren nerf is something that is on the way and has been explicitly stated as well. But developers like Ted Timmons as well as Josh Bridge have mentioned in the past that the 300 HP change within Caldera is something that changes the look of the TTKs and overall weapon metas. So weapon balancing will now be made with that health in mind, because there has been enough time to collect enough relevant data to say what needs changing and what doesn't. Now, in terms of overall meta discussion, they also kind of put forth the understanding here of what they try to do with each seasonal air quote meta. They stated they don't want it to be changing too constantly, and that it's kind of a balancing act, one that personally I don't envy. I mean, you have to keep in mind that yes, we the hardcore players, and even if you don't play much, I'll keep it real with you, I still haven't been playing a whole ton of Warzone in the last couple of weeks. Real life, other games out there have been capturing my attention, but for you going out of your way to watch content about Warzone, for me making said content about Warzone, we're that 1%, where there's one of us, there's 99 others that just play casually 1 or 2 matches here on the weekend or after work before dinner. So for us, while we may be using the same sort of 10, 15, 20 weapons that are air quote meta, those other 99 relearning, or in a lot of other cases, remaxing out weapons to get the attachments necessary for those weapons to do well, they'd spend their time more so leveling rather than actually playing the game. So they said that it's a balancing act, that they want to change things up, but also have to keep in mind that casual player base. So for the Bren, that 4 months of superiority looks to finally be coming to a close. Now, as for map adjustments, it is stated that they realize that everything is kind of on the outside right now, and that we'll see new points of interest and more point of interest changes coming in the next few seasons, but starting with season 3. And we already had this kind of start with dig site, though while not changed in game just yet, it has been explicitly named on attack map. And of course, we do know of those other ones we just mentioned in terms of peak, in terms of lagoon, in terms of runway. We'll see those changes start with season 3 here, and then in the future, we're likely to be seeing even more. Maybe not in season 3 outside of this, whatever the event may entail for Operation Monarch, who knows, but outside of that, season 4 and season 5, we're likely going to be seeing even more map changes to Caldera. In terms of some gameplay changes though, it was mentioned by Raven developers that season 3 will see new second chance opportunities. There's no details just yet on what that actually is, but it sounds interesting. Second chance, of course, referring to things like your gulag, buybacks, and anything that can get you back into the action after you're dead. So kind of like additionally your most wanted contracts and such. So I'm very curious to see how this will happen. It was also teased that we could have a new item coming, where Ted Timmons ended up mentioning that he thinks it's important for teammates to ping items like armor boxes, trophy systems, and like something else. Teasing something in an interview here recently. And to me, I think it's going to be a usable field upgrade of some kind, like our Dead Silence armor box like we just mentioned, and other things like that. But with the inclusion of the Caldera Godzilla vs. Kong storyline, we ended up even seeing that one of the promos mentioned a specific device. So that could be something that, just like the Nebula 5 rounds, plays into this narrative that's being established here at this. But outside of that, some of the cooler things here in terms of map adjustments, gameplay adjustments, and all that kind of stuff, we can get down to the more minute things, but the very important thing still, that is quality of life changes. Now, the biggest one that I am very excited here for, and fingers crossed this is everything that we hope for here, the biggest thing out of this, I think, is improved directional footstep audio. This is something that for audiophiles, this is going to be huge for you guys. If you're playing on a TV in like a living room or something like that, it might not be something you notice as much, but if you're playing with a headset or anything like that, you'll definitely notice that footsteps aren't how they should be right now. There's a ton of occlusion errors, whether that be through like hillsides or anything like that, or just even when somebody is right up next to you, you might not get any footstep audio at all. That's something that I feel like I've personally had a ton of issues with as of the last couple of weeks, and is partially why whenever I get back on to play Warzone, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to just yet. But with this adjustment, it's been in the works for a couple of months now at this point. We learned about it before season 2 even began here. So that should mean that, fingers crossed, we have a decent amount of changes made, and substantial ones at that. There's also been mentioned officially world traversal issues is something that's going to be ironed out. And we talked about how it's mentioned geographic issues are already on the radar for Raven and have been mentioned fixes are coming for that. Whether or not that is something that is exactly the same and only revolving around those or not, we don't quite know. We saw that, of course, we ended up having some adjustments to the redeploy balloons as of recently, so we could see more adjusted locations of them, because we saw some actually kind of switched out from various locations, not necessarily adding to, but in some cases just pulling a balloon into a different area. In that same vein, vehicle issues have been explicitly mentioned by Raven as having changes and fixes inbound for anything like that. Next up for quality of life changes, we'll see an Ascender upgrade where you can attach anywhere as it's described right now. This looks to be a pretty interesting upgrade for the Ascender. I mean, in the last year alone, we've seen that you could go up more than one at a time, which is great for pushing one-way angles. I do wish that you could kind of exit or dismount them a little bit quicker instead of the 2 to 3 seconds that it takes normally, because then you're kind of like sitting ducks to anybody that's watching those Ascenders. But we also saw adjusted throughout the past year as well, the ability to bail on those zip lines at any point also. So now you're going to be able to attach anywhere, seemingly meaning you can attach like midway up. You don't have to be at the base or the peak of one. You could kind of be in midair and attach at that point. So we'll see how that all works out. Definitely seems cool. Then also the final thing here to round everything out, I'd imagine we end up actually seeing the ironed out version of the downed control state. I don't even know if this is live right now. It was mentioned to be going live in season 2.5, but I haven't been able to figure this out myself. I don't know if I'm just not looking in the right places. Whatever the case, if it's not already there, that is something that should be ironed out as well. We've seen other quality of life changes that have been announced and then kind of pushed back a little bit, but bear that in mind. That said, that's the changes coming with season 3 here in Warzone, and a lot of substantial ones are coming in my opinion. But that said, before we wrap everything up, once again, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel, who, in anticipation of and celebration of Season 3's launch, have bumped up code Espresso to 30% off your entire order today and this weekend, as well as next weekend. Not the entire time from now through next weekend, but both weekends respectively. So there's plenty of time to capitalize on the best savings of the month if you want to try something out for the very first time, grab any new flavors, or just get a restock here. Whatever the case, now is as best a time as any. Personally, I'd highly recommend Hype Sauce, Starfruit, Pink Drip, and Strawberry Banana. That's my top 4, I'd say, right now. But anyways, if you're interested, check the link in the description below and use code Espresso at checkout. For now, that's where we're going to wrap things up. So let me know your thoughts down below. Is there any change here that particularly stands out to you that you're very much so excited for? Whatever the case, drop it down below. But if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. As well, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, especially with Season 3 right around the corner. So we got a lot up on deck. Make sure you're here for all of it. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.